football fans. Welcome to the Onside Kick. Ricky Widmer here along with Dave Oster.
Hey, guys.
And Mark Weber.
How's it going, guys?
And we're here like we are every week to talk football. We got some NFL mock drafts going on today. And in the world of college, we got Jameis Winston saying that he will stay at Florida State for an extra 2 seasons. But guys, talking NFL draft, both Todd McShay and Mel Kiper came out with their 2.0 mock drafts for this year's NFL draft, and it seems like the biggest question between the two is who are the Texans going to take at the number 1 slot. Todd McShay thinks that the Texans are going to go more the defensive route, go Jadeveon Clowney out of South Carolina. Mel Kiper thinks that Johnny Manziel, the quarterback from Texas A&M, is the right choice. Where do you guys sit on this situation? Do the Texans go offense or defense?
Well, if you look back in history, the Texans had the same decision years ago when they first became a franchise. And guess what? It was Mario Manningham and Vince Young. Again, in-state, very popular quarterback coming off a great performance. Or that defensive pressure, that pass rusher who is always in need in the NFL. And I'm just saying that they went with Manningham. In that case, I agree. Okay, Vince Young had personality issues in college. You could see it. He was an immature guy. Manziel, again, personality issues. But for some reason, I just can't get off of Manziel. I think that he's going to be a great quarterback.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that I'm going to compare between Vince Young and Johnny Manziel, Vince Young coming off a national title over USC, but he still never had the hype. He didn't even have half the hype that Johnny Manziel has now. And I'm going to say it's because of everything Johnny Manziel does off the field. The money celebrations, him going out and partying, signing his autographs, all of that in this now Twitter sphere, Facebook, social media driven society, it's just plateaued him, or even skyrocketed, that's a better word, into just mega fame.
Definitely. It's interesting, especially being the hometown kid. A guy who a lot of people earlier on were saying, no, he's not going to be the first-round pick. It's Bridgewater. That's the obvious guy to go with number 1 overall. But now
Is he really, though?
That's what people were saying before.
Really?
That's what people were saying before.
Okay.
Now it's completely changed. Bridgewater, no one would consider him number 1 overall, apparently. So it's interesting. It's a weird position for the Texans because obviously you get Clowney on there, that defense is even more unstoppable.
If they stay healthy.
If they stay healthy. However, do you get another chance for, take your pick at the quarterback position? No. Your team's not going to be this bad again. So I think with that, you kind of have to go. If there's somebody you really like, if maybe you don't like anybody, the only guy you like is Derek Carr, all right, sit back and wait for a little while. Go get your defensive player. But if there's a guy you like, number 1 overall, yeah, just go take him. Why not?
I know it's a totally different situation, but the one thing I can't help but think about, and Dave, you brought it up with the 2006 draft when the Texans did take Mario Williams over Vince Young. Mario Williams isn't there anymore. He left as soon as his contract was over to go to the Buffalo Bills. And if you don't take a quarterback, are the quarterbacks that you have on the roster right now enough to win? Even if you add Jadeveon Clowney.
See, I don't think it's if you don't take a quarterback. I think it's if you don't take quarterback with your number 1 pick, because they will get a quarterback in this draft, whether it is in the later rounds or the first overall. I think they're going to have to go quarterback at some point.
Well, let's say this then. Do you take Manziel at number 1, or do you, let's say, try to work a trade with a team maybe in the top 5 to where you can still get a Teddy Bridgewater, a Blake Bortles, or even a Derek Carr if you really think he's going to go that high?
Well, it really depends on who they want. Who does Bill O'Brien say, this is my guy? If it's Johnny Manziel, stay at number 1. If it's, Teddy Bridgewater, if you can go back, maybe pick number 4 overall, all right. Because then you can get Teddy Bridgewater. It really depends on that situation. Or, honestly, we also have the other option. If they don't like anybody, then, yeah, you obviously go defense or you just trade back, which would be the most valuable thing you could probably do with number 1 overall. So it's going to be interesting. Right now, a lot of people are saying that Bill O'Brien and the Texans are heavily favoring Manziel.
Well, and the other thing that I think of with Johnny Manziel, but it's because of course, I'm a Chicago Bulls fan. Texas A&M quarterback, Houston Texans. It's kind of hard not to pick the guy that made so much success in your home state.
It's not the flag state college, though.
Yeah, but it's still Texas, and me, I think a la Derrick Rose. I know it's a little different because Rose was born in Chicago. Now he plays in Chicago, but to me as a fan, I like that headline of played his college ball in Texas. Now he's going to make a name for himself in the state he made his college name in.
I think you'll piss less people off if you take him over not taking him and getting a different quarterback. If they were to go for like Teddy Bridgewater or something, yeah, some of their fans are probably going to be pissed off. They go for Johnny Manziel. You will get some people, obviously, because there's always going to be the minority of people that are pissed off. But it's not going to be at the same level because he is that hometown kid.
I just think that Bill O'Brien he's got to be like the quarterback guru at this point. So he's going to go with Manziel. It makes perfect sense to me. Even though in Clowney, okay, defensive monster, no doubt in that. But because of the situation, I did mention they could look for a quarterback later in the draft, kind of like how other teams have maybe found someone in the third round, Russell Wilson, or maybe Taj Boyd will be available in the second round. He's not terrible, but again, he's not. You have that unique opportunity for that number one pick. Any single player in college football is available to you. Who do you pick? You go for the one that's going to make the biggest impact on your team. And I think at this point, it is Johnny Manziel.
Well, to keep on the Johnny Manziel kind of theme here, I just thought of something. And Dave, I thought of it because of you and what you've said on the podcast numerous times before. Let's say the Texans go with Clowney. Manziel is still on the board. The Rams are at 2. Do you keep Sam Bradford as your future, or do you take Johnny Manziel?
Well, my opinions are very strong in this case and very well known. You got to drop Bradford right where he is. Just like, number 2, Manziel's available. All right, we're going to take Manziel. Put Bradford on the bench. Don't care. I mean, I have no love for this player. I'm sorry.
A lot of money sitting on your bench.
Don't care. You can cut him.
He was one of the last quarterbacks to get those big contracts.
You're correct. You could cut him for all I care.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because obviously Johnny Manziel, he's probably going to be a better quarterback than Sam Bradford. That's a pretty easy assumption to make. Now, the only thing you got to worry about, and this is what I worry about with Johnny Manziel, no offensive line help in St. Louis here. Is he going to be able to survive all those hits from NFL-sized players? Which I know there's a lot of big guys in the SEC, but it's not NFL size.
Yeah, but the thing I think of, and I'm just going to say this right away, I'm not comparing Johnny Manziel to Russell Wilson, but I feel like Johnny Manziel might be able to do the same thing that Russell Wilson does. Run around the pocket a little bit, wide receiver gets open. Oh, a guy like Tavon Austin. You hit him in open space, he'll run for days.
Absolutely. And, I actually think that Johnny Manziel may be more athletically gifted than Russell Wilson in this case. I definitely like his arm better as far as accuracy. Russell Wilson does have a great deep ball, though. So there's that trade-off. I think Manziel will be fine.
Honestly, though, making this Russell Wilson comparison, though, the one thing I do worry about in this situation, Russell Wilson's one of the smartest quarterbacks there are out there. He does not throw one up if it's not going to one of his guys.
Absolutely.
Johnny Manziel throws the ball up. And especially if he's getting pressure, he's turning his back to his receivers, he's just going to go ahead and throw it. And there's nobody on that St. Louis roster that's good enough to really compete with a good cornerback or safety out there.
As far as a jump ball, no. You're correct on that one.
I don't know. I feel like, and I'm going back to the 2010 draft. That was the draft that Bradford was in. And you look at the guys right after Bradford that got drafted. Sue, Gerald McCoy, Trent Williams, Eric Berry, Russell Okung, Joe Hayden. Guys that we're talking about today more so than we are Sam Bradford. But if you look at the next quarterback taken, number 25 overall, Tim Tebow.
Well,
then number 48 overall, Jimmy Clausen to the Panthers. Then Colt McCoy in the 3rd round, Mike Kafka in the 4th round. After Bradford in that draft, there was no... It wasn't as saturated as a quarterback field as we might see this year with, if I don't get Manziel, close. I can get Teddy Bridgewater and be fine.
Definitely. Right. And at the same time, though, you do have with Sam Bradford was the consensus number 1 overall pick. Johnny Manziel, even though he's not consensus, you take him overall, there's no guarantees in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
It might not work. It might be the best quarterback ever to play the game. It also might not work. So it's a risk, obviously. And, the number 1 pick, you could say it's the most sure thing, but at the same time, statistically, you have more risk than any other pick.
Well, and I mean, since we're talking about quarterbacks, the one guy who I know is not going to go in the first round, might not go in the second round, but I could see him being the same type of quarterback that we see Kirk Cousins as right now, and that's A.J. McCarron. A guy that a team maybe says, oh, it's the third or fourth round, he's still around, let's pick him up even though we have an established quarterback, even if they have a young quarterback, and have him kind of sit and be like, if he becomes something, we can maybe trade him, or if our quarterback wants more money, we can say, nope, we got this guy.
Like old school NFL, where you'd actually give a rookie some time to learn the system.
Kind of like Aaron Rodgers did behind Brett Favre.
Kind of like Ryan Mallett's doing right now.
Yeah, and I mean, the big thing about Ryan Mallett, and I mean, we've even got comments on our video of, is he going to be traded, or the Patriots going to let him loose? I actually, before I made the Kirk Cousins kind of comparison, Ryan Mallett did pop into my mind because A.J. McCarron isn't a flashy quarterback. His college career was described as he wins games, not, he's a flashy guy like Manziel.
It's an interesting thing, though, in today's NFL now. Quarterbacks and coaches are so linked to each other. There is no, our quarterback wants too much money, let's let him walk. That doesn't exist anymore. When was the last time a quarterback walked because the team wasn't willing to pay him and was a decent quarterback? Doesn't happen. Quarterbacks get paid. You can't get a young guy like A.J. McCarron in there and say, well, maybe if Stafford wants too much money, we'll put McCarron in there. It's a good situation for somebody who says, we got a quarterback we're not so sure about.
Or even
Rams.
a quarterback who, and how many injuries have been going on for these first-string quarterbacks. Having a valuable backup is absolutely a key in this day and age.
Well, and I mean, you bring up the Bears. Let me throw this question out because you guys are the Bear fans in the room. Would you rather have a guy like Josh McCown re-sign with the Bears, be behind Jay Cutler, or would you rather the Bears draft a guy like let's say, Logan Thomas out of Virginia Tech, Taj Boyd out of Clemson, or even A.J. McCarron, if he's around late enough from Bama to be your backup behind Jay, because Jay could get injured at any moment. He could cough and
Jay will get injured at any moment. That's just who Jay is. It'd be hard to turn away from McCown at this point. He's put up phenomenal numbers for coming in off of a teaching career. I give him a lot of credit. I do like the idea of, getting a young quarterback prepped and ready to go just in case. But it would have to be one of those cases where I really see something in the younger quarterback that I'm like, okay, it's worth the draft pick to go out and get this guy in the third round, the fourth round, instead of something else that we could possibly need at this point. The Bears team, we do have a lot of needs on that defense. So it'd be hard to commit a draft pick to gain a young backup who not guaranteed playing time, especially with Cutler signing that new stupidly long contract.
7 years.
You guys, everyone always says 7 years, but the Bears had the option to get out of it in 4 years.
Okay,
out of it,
so 4 to 7.
Money.
4 more years.
4 years is not that much to dedicate to a 30-year-old quarterback.
It's the same time that you'd get if you got reelected as the president.
I don't know why you're making that comparison, but sure, why not?
That's how it is.
But I think the thing here is, when it comes to the Bears going after a guy, sometime either this year or next year, we have to get a guy to be groomed into the next quarterback. Josh McCown may or may not come back. He wants to play in the NFL. He might want to get a big contract if he can get a big contract somewhere. Will it happen? Probably not, and I think he'll fail anywhere else.
That's why if a guy like A.J. McCarron or even a Taj Boyd are there in the third or fourth round of this draft, I say the Bears jump on it.
No, because I think we have more issues that we need to worry about.
But I mean,
Plus, Taj isn't exactly a stereotypical quarterback.
Are you going to fit every single need in this draft?
No, but I think if you get a guy like A.J. McCarron, Jay Cutler gets injured, let's say week 6, A.J. McCarron will fail. He will not have time.
You still have McCown. I'm not saying
we're not going to get McCown, though.
So you're saying that
he's probably going to go somewhere where they will pay him more money.
See, I don't know. I think McCown wants to be the backup. He knows that he's old, and he knows that, you know what? I'm not a starter. Yeah,
Money
he had
talks.
a good year, but but McCown doesn't seem like a guy to me that wants money and just money.
Everybody wants money.
He's a guy that would be content with, okay, Bears don't want to sign me. I'll go back to teaching.
This is a guy right now who's sitting there going, I don't have much of this left. Maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years. If I can cash out, that'd be pretty nice. Put some money to my kids' college fund. You know, it's going to cost about veteran minimum soon anyways to go to college. But I think he's a guy who, I like McCown, don't get me wrong, but I think if there's a chance to get one last good paying contract, I don't blame him for taking it.
I don't see... I see teams being interested, but I just don't see McCown being like... Because I feel like if he goes to a team and starts, he might fail because, A, he doesn't have the quarterback whisper anymore, and 2, it's kind of easier to come in when Jay's injured and he had no fucking pressure.
He also had the best tandem of wide receivers in the NFL and one of the best tight ends size-wise. I mean, so that does help. As far as the back, I agree with you. 2 years probably is a good timeline for us to grab a younger quarterback to groom. But yeah, just the amount of backups who played last year was ridiculous. And I think the numbers could keep growing. I mean, the NFL, bigger, stronger, faster, that's just how it is. You got to watch out for injuries. And I think it's starting to catch up, especially these running quarterbacks or more mobile quarterbacks. I mean, let's be honest. You can't understate how much a backup is worth after watching one be put in the Super Bowl game, to close it out.
Yeah.
Talk about Tavares Jackson out there.
Yep.
Somebody has the same amount of rings as Peyton Manning.
Yes.
Just saying.
Somebody does, and he's 1-0 in Super Bowls instead of 1-2.
Certainly, yes.
But I mean, to look at the other quarterbacks that Mel and McShay are looking to go in the top 5, Manziel, I feel strong about. I like Manziel. I'm a Manziel boy. Teddy Bridgewater, I feel like people are going to be down on him, but he has the potential to do good things. The one quarterback that I am not fond of, and I compare him to Christian Ponder, I think he's going to have the same exact career play out just like Christian Ponder has right now, is Blake Bortles out of Central Florida. I am not a fan of Bortles.
It's interesting, though, with Bortles because he is a guy, you look at this guy and sure, why can't he? He's got everything he needs. He's built like a NFL type of quarterback. He looks like he should be a quarterback, and he's not had the most success, but he's been pretty damn good.
His last game really was, I think, the thing that put him up in that first-tier notch with everybody else. He just had a fantastic performance.
So it's interesting where, you look at him as a guy who might go like top 10 overall, and you're thinking, I don't know about that. Is he first-round talent, though? I would say he's first-round talent.
He's first-round talent, but
first-round
we also...
potential. I don't think he's talented enough to be in the first. I think it's...
You don't think he should be in the first round at all?
I think he's got the potential to be a top quarterback. Yeah, he's built out like one, like you said. Stereotypical size, shape, everything. Arm strength, fantastic. But as far as how much more he can develop, there's a lot. And I think it's just because of the case that there's so many teams right now craving that quarterback and how much emphasis is being put on that position in the NFL these days, that his draft stock has escalated solely on that. I think, 20 years ago, he would have been a second rounder.
Well, I mean, to kind of go back to what Mark said, how you said he has the size. Christian, I'm relating him to Ponder because that's who I related him to. Ponder has 1 more pound on Bortles, but Bortles has 2 inches on Ponder. So he's a little taller. They're about the same weight. And the one thing I find interesting about McShay's analysis of Bortles, he even says in there that Bortles doesn't have enough arm strength to make all the NFL throws. I mean, yeah, he could develop that with time, but right now, he's not. I don't think he's. If you're a top 5 team, don't take him because he's going to turn out to be Christian Ponder 2.0. That's how I see it.
It's possible. This is one of those type of guys where it's kind of a wait and see. It's the same thing with Bridgewater right now as he falls. Is Bridgewater falling going to be an incredible, opportunity for some
How
team?
far do you think he falls, though?
Not out of the. Well, I still am holding strong to 4 quarterbacks in the top 15.
Okay.
So I would say
In the top 15?
top 15.
What about in the top 5?
Top 5, 2 maybe 3.
Okay, so you're going more of the route of Mel Kiper. Kiper says the only quarterbacks that we're going to see in the top 5 are Manziel and Bridgewater, 1 and 4 to the Texans and Browns. But if you look at McShay, he's got Bridgewater, Bortles, and Manziel all going 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, I mean, I think that little... It's interesting, though, because you could have that run. Once somebody takes Manziel and then somebody else takes Bridgewater and they go, oh, man, we got to get Bortles quick. He's the last guy that we like in this draft or something like that. Very possible that it can happen. I mean, that's why there were so many offensive linemen taken last year in the draft.
And you know what I just noticed in both mock drafts that kind of makes me feel like, Dave, that the Rams should draft a quarterback with their second pick? Todd McShay has them at 13 going with Marquise Lee, a pretty good wide receiver out of Southern Cal. And Kiper has him going with Mike Evans out of Texas A&M. Why not go quarterback and then you have one of those guys along with Tavon Austin? Who cares about the offensive line at this point?
Well, you need to have time to throw, Ricky.
Yeah, need to have some time to throw. But when you have a quarterback who creates their own time, you know.
That is if Manziel drops to them.
You're probably not going to get Manziel. I mean, you might get lucky. I'm pretty sure you're not going to. Manziel's looking like the first overall pick.
And let me throw this out there because I just thought of this. If you're Houston, why not go number 1, Jadeveon Clowney, then work something out with Washington maybe to trade 2 of your lower picks for Kirk Cousins?
If you like Kirk Cousins.
I don't know if they're going to let go of Kirk Cousins at this point.
Apparently there's a ton of teams that, I mean, it's going to be sooner than the draft, but right when March 11th hits, and teams can start offering, the Redskins are saying that they're expecting multiple teams to be sending interest and calling about Kirk Cousins.
See, that's what I don't get. Why is Cousins getting more attention than Ryan Mallett? I'm saying we haven't seen Ryan Mallett play other than a couple preseason games. Ryan Mallett, I'd still put more money on as being a more successful quarterback, though.
And honestly, with Kirk Cousins, we haven't seen anything great out of him. We've seen some good flashes, but we've also seen some kind of bad
Very poor decision-making.
Yeah.
Wait, Mark, are you talking bad about the All-American?
I am talking bad about that corn-fed American boy.
That corn-fed American boy. But, I mean, I feel like that's why. The Redskins have put Kirk Cousins in a situation where people have been like, okay, we see what he had. In the 3 games that he played his rookie season, he had a QBR of 75.2. And this past season, yeah, I know 26.5 QBR, which is terrible, but Washington wasn't too good with all the RG3 relationship with Mike Shanahan's relationship with Snyder. The whole team was a mess.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the whole team's a mess, but you still don't want to trade for a guy who was a part of that mess and couldn't do any better. A guy who was consumed by that mess. You don't like that.
Did you really think that Kirk Cousins was consumed by that mess?
He had a 29 QBR.
I was going to say, you just said his performance was pretty poor this year. And honestly, this was a team 1 year removed from a playoff run. So you got to turn and be like, okay, well, how much of this is on RG3? How much of this is on the coaching?
Mm-hmm.
And how much of this is just mental game on Kirk Cousins?
And I mean, to compare him, Dave, to Ryan Mallett, Mallett's stat size is way smaller. Yes, he's played in 4 games, but he's only had 4 attempts, completed 1 pass for 17 yards, has thrown an interception, and has a total QBR of 0.7. But like I said, only 4 games and only 4 passes.
I'm just saying I would rather have Castle. If you're going to go for a guy, if you're going for a guy who played under Belichick, I'd rather have the guy who played in games.
Castle did say he is going to void his 2014 option.
Get out of that mess.
And he's going to look to test free agency. And, I mean, you bring him up, Mark. What teams do you feel like Matt Castle... What teams should go for Matt Castle? Let me put it that way.
Teams that want a backup quarterback.
Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking for a guy who maybe can compete, maybe just to push.
Is Jake Locker going to be Jake Locker in Tennessee?
Is he the answer or not? I think he's got another year to prove it, but I've seen some interesting stuff out of him. I'll be honest with you. He makes more plays with his legs than I would have bet, but his decision making. Okay, he's young, so you got to expect bad. I think he's got 1 more year to prove his case, though.
And one of the other things coming out of Tennessee that many people are talking about, do you get rid of Chris Johnson? Do you get rid of CJ2K?
You're already too late. You already should have gotten rid of him. You paid him a huge amount of money, and you've not gotten that return. You basically made it impossible to get a return on the money you spent on Chris Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get rid of him. Just cut ties, and say, all right, it was fun while it lasted. We are moving in a new direction.
Yeah, it is kind of sad, the timing-wise, how it breaks down. But after watching, I don't want to call it a lack of effort, but it really did seem like Chris Johnson suddenly just and he turned it off. He just doesn't care anymore. So I think they got to cut the strings, and somebody could get a good deal on him, or they could end up with Josh Freeman last year,
Yeah, I mean, and the one
throwing
thing,
knuckleballs.
This is all depending on who re-signs with who, and if the Titans actually do decide to cut Chris Johnson. But I'm looking at the right now 2014 NFL free agents and the running backs. There are some big names that we could have. You got Rashad Mendenhall,
if healthy.
Willis McGahee, another older guy.
Super old.
No Sean could be a free agent if Denver lets him slip away.
The tier.
James Starks, Ben Tate looking for a big contract.
I think Ben Tate deserves a big contract. He's been like second runner-up all his career. Yeah, he can play legit first running back.
And then you also have Maurice Jones-Drew, Toby Gernhardt, LeGarrette Blount, and Derek McFadden. All could be free agents.
Well, you know my opinion on Run DMC.
Go ahead.
Never stays healthy. He just doesn't stay healthy. He's just such a huge bust of potential and talent. Like, he gets on that field, he shines, but he can't stay out there. He's just too fragile. I think you build the ultimate tough guy backfield, and you go Ben Tate and Gerhardt. You get them both, you run power, and just watch them crush people.
Well, and I mean, as a Vikings fan, I was kind of excited when the Vikings first got Gernhardt because you have AP as your number one back. You got Toby Gernhardt, the pounded up the middle guy on third down if you need it. He can be the power back at number two. And I honestly do not know if they're going to re-sign Gernhardt. My money is on he's going to be in a different uniform next season because he's going to want more money.
I don't see a reason for... I mean, I get why the Vikings have him, but if you got to pay money for it, it's not worth it at this point.
And I mean, you got AP.
Yeah.
Why pay for two big backs?
It's hard to turn down the guy who came back from, a busted knee in under a year, so.
I've bought into the theory of don't pay much money for your running backs. Get a guy in the draft, get a guy young. Once he gets in there for a while, let him go.
Mm-hmm.
Just let him go because the lifespan of a running back is not very long.
It's true. You know who has a stockpile of running backs? San Francisco. Stockpile.
They do, and they don't even use all of them in a good
way.
way.
They didn't dress them.
No.
But I mean, and I'm looking at now comparing that to the draft, and I feel like it was 1 or 2 weeks ago where PTI kind of talked about the whole schedule of the NFL is kind of screwed up. You have free agency first, you try to fill your wants, and then you have the draft trying to fill your needs. It should be reversed, shouldn't it? You should go and draft your young guys for what you want, and then use the veterans to fill your needs.
No, not at all. I disagree completely.
Why? You wouldn't want to fill guys who could play that can play right away to fill your needs rather than guys where it's like, let's draft this kid because we don't know.
I
toss
think
a coin.
to look at it as wants and needs is dumb. They're all needs. A team has needs. That's all it is.
Yeah, but a team also has wants.
Sure.
And that's what free agency is right now. It's
everything
what you want.
Needs. You have needs. You can address them through the draft or free agency. You're telling me you can't address your needs through free agency?
I'm not saying you can't address your needs.
You could draft a team out of free agency right now.
Exactly.
But there are times where teams go, he is really good, and I mean, we have 3 running backs, but man, this guy could be a number one back and replace our first one. That's a want.
It's not
and
like
there are teams that have wants.
It's not like the free agency period ends at the draft. It continues. So go get the guys you want. Plus, you're also looking at it, ignoring the fact that some teams, what they draft gets decided by what they got in free agency.
Oh, absolutely, because you're not going to go out there and get another running back, another cornerback. If you went and grabbed, like, a top pick out of free agency, it's like, well, why bother? We just got, the absolute best guy available. So we're going to go ahead and use our first-round pick to
And
get the
someone
same
you
position
know
who's
more
not going to
about,
play.
Too. You've seen them in the NFL.
That's absolutely true.
See, I don't know. I feel like at first, I kind of agree with switching the order because, I mean, first off, for me as a football fan, that means the draft gets to be sooner, right?
Okay, I kind of agree with that.
Could you imagine the draft on March 11th?
I'm a little excited.
but when do you have the combine, though? Got to rush that. Got to rush
You can
combines,
still
got to rush
you can
interviews.
still
We
have
have
the
the combine the week
February
after the Super
22nd.
Bowl, and I would be so excited.
So have
Gotta spread
the
that out.
combine right now is what you're saying.
Gotta
Like-
let the business year of the NFL
You're
last
so
as
right.
long as possible.
You're so right, because if you get rid of that, then we have to pay attention to what, basketball?
I
Screw
don't know
that.
what that is.
Screw
First of
that.
all.
Or
No.
even worse, baseball.
Or even worse.
Well,
the worstest of
in
all
Dave's
sports. Hockey. And I'm from Chicago.
Dave hates his hockey right now.
I don't hate it. I just don't appreciate the game as much as other people do.
But I mean, we were talking about free agents, and the thing that I feel like, and I mean, you could tie this into if the draft was sooner, people would be more excited because that's where all the quarterbacks are. You look at these possible free agents for quarterbacks. The notable names: Matt Flynn, Josh Freeman could be. You have Michael Vick
Woo!
and Colt McCoy. Oh, Rex Grossman. He's going to be a free agent
Sexy
too.
Rexy.
He definitely is. And you're missing my guy I threw in there before, Josh McCown. Gotta
He's
include
going to
him.
be a free agent. You don't think
He is a free
I
agent.
left him out because I feel like the Bears bring him back over
Right
Jordan
now, he's a
Palmer.
free agent.
Yeah, but I'm saying that the Bears will re-sign him. That's what I'm saying.
Doesn't make it mean he's not a free agent.
Technically free agents.
Technically.
The Bears are going to allow him to test the waters, I believe. Because why not? He's a backup quarterback. Yeah, he helped out a lot, but you can get another backup quarterback with your quarterback whisperer coach. You can get any guy in there.
no. For the Bears, it's not. Oh, he's our backup quarterback. You have QB1 and QB2. Both of them play because Cutler goes down.
With your quarterback whisperer, he can get anybody doing that quarterback 2 job. We could do it with the
We'll
guy
see.
you couldn't work, Josh Freeman.
I would love to see you try.
Throwing some knuckleballs to the secondary.
I think we could do it.
I would love to see that.
Hey, I'd be willing to put the bet on it if I was the head coach of the Bears. All right, so
You know what would be even?
you know what that
I
is?
want to see this
No.
happen.
You know what would be the best? Josh Freeman signs with the Bears. Cutler gets injured. Freeman starts for that game against Tampa Bay, and Revis Island just eats him up with Lovie Smith.
I don't say. Even if he throws lobs to the secondary, we've got the bigger wide receivers. We got the bigger tight end.
You don't
Look
think
up and get the ball.
You don't think Revis Island could stand a match against? I mean,
Revis is like
I'm not-
5'11".
I'm not saying he'll shut down Marshall or Jeffrey because
Hang
I
on.
love them.
Let me watch him out jump a 6'4" No,
Yeah, but that knuckleball, you don't know where it's going.
it also is traveling like it's like floating and kind of spinning sideways.
You got big guys. That's all you need. Big
Man,
receivers.
Freeman, just that arm strength, overwhelming.
Yeah, Freeman might also get a concussion and then not tell you though.
Hey,
As
he
long as
plays
he-
through the
like
pain.
he
As long as he
against the
doesn't lose
Giants.
this time, I don't care.
If you couldn't tell he had a concussion to begin with, I mean, that's on you.
But I mean, to get off the Josh, because I mean, to me as a Vikings fan, useless.
He's like the Chris Conti of the Vikings.
Yes, exactly.
There's a lot of Chris Contis on the Vikings.
Yeah, I was going to say, he only played a couple games, so that's not quite. But
One of the quarterbacks, though, that I'm looking at because I don't think he's going to be back in Philly because of Nick Foles'
Nick Foles' miracle season.
explosion. Do you see a future for Michael Vick?
No, I don't. I didn't see a future for Mike Vick a while ago. And to be honest, I didn't see a future when he had a future. When he, came back and went to Philadelphia and just blew all of our expectations out of the water. I didn't see it coming. But now I definitely don't see it because it's been a while. We've seen the injuries. We've seen it just kind of take its toll on his body. He lost that starting job. He can maybe play backup somewhere. I mean, he's a good guy to have, sitting out there talking to your young quarterback.
Really?
If you got a young mobile quarterback, why not? Why not put a guy who's been out there, who's experienced it, and who's had his career basically taken down?
So
Dave wants to talk.
So when you say on the sidelines talking to your young quarterback, a flip, just light switch flipped off, and I was like, wait, you want the guy who's been to prison, who's had, horrible things just go on through his career. He's not exactly a role model for young players. But on the other hand, I do agree with you in the sense of if you have a mobile quarterback now, go ahead and get Michael Vick. He's an insurance policy because your first quarterback has a high chance to go down. I'm thinking Washington pulls the old switcheroo. You're talking about them getting all these offers for Kirk Cousins. Go ahead, get your draft picks with Kirk Cousins. Go sign Michael Vick for dirt cheap on free agency. You have a backup now who plays an efficient version of what your starter hopefully can do if healthy. Makes perfect sense. Because you got to think the market for Michael Vick is very limited, and Kirk Cousins is apparently expecting many offers.
See, and the one thing I think, because you brought up Washington, that you got to think about, Jay Gruden. How is he going to work with RG3? I feel like Jay Gruden had to work with a completely different quarterback when he was with the Bungles. Andy Dalton and RG3, two completely different animals. Can he work with a scrambler? A mobile guy?
Well, based on his Arena Football League experience, I think he can work with weird offenses.
Yeah, I'd say if you watch Arena Football, even just the clips of any game from Arena Football, you'll see it's just kind of like super fast-paced offense and lots of running, So I think it does kind of lend itself. I think it'll be fine. I think it'll absolutely be fine up there with RG3 when healthy, and whoever else the backup is.
In Washington, you mean?
Yeah.
Do you think that, I'm going to put you to what you said.
Yep.
Do you think the odds that Kirk Cousins gets traded and Washington gets Michael Vick? Like you said, they could.
I don't know. Since I just came off the top of my head, I'll go with about 15%.
15?
I literally just came up with this information.
I know. I'm just throwing it at you, Dave.
I think okay. From a logical point of view, though, doesn't it make sense? Say you can get a second and a fourth for Cousins, or a third. Yeah, it would be like a second and a fourth.
And I mean, it makes
value-wise.
sense because RG3 could get injured at any point, and then it's like we don't have to change anything because Michael Vick is the same style.
If you want to go, if you want to have, let's say RG3 gets injured. If you want a guy you know can take you to the playoffs and win a game, go get Tim Tebow. He'll take you to the playoffs.
He has
win a game.
Well, I mean,
win.
that's interesting because what was it? 3 or 4 weeks ago, we had on Sunday NFL Countdown basically the Trent Dilfer infomercial for Tim Tebow, where you looked at Tim Tebow working with the USC guys, working on his throw. Oh, man, I've never seen someone work this hard to get his throwing motion back to what it should be. Then Trent Dilfer said, teams should look at him.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I like Tim Tebow more after watching his Super Bowl commercials than listening to Trent Dilfer's infomercial.
# no contract.
Seriously, fantastic commercials. Look them up. Worth to watch over and over.
I'm so glad that he was willing to do those.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
He has a sense of humor about himself.
Now that I don't have a contract, I can do my own stunts.
Exactly. I think once the whole hype of religious train fell off the board with him, he could be himself a little more and show more of his personality, and I think it's fantastic.
And he should be a starting quarterback in the NFL, is what Dave is saying.
You totally read. You just jumped the gun on that one. You know exactly what I was thinking.
We finish each other's
words.
There you go.
Sentences, you mean?
I was hoping you would say sandwiches, but
sandwiches. But another kind of to go along this free agency trend we've been going on, and I'm going to relate it to the Washington Redskins. One of the things that people are going to talk about with Washington are the RG3 Pierre Garçon connection, and in free agency, are they going to go out and get that number 2? Because many teams could go out and get a wide receiver if the free agents right now hit the market. You have Jacoby Jones, Devin Hester. He's a kick returner.
He's not a number 2.
Yeah,
he's a kick returner.
Receiver.
You have Eric Decker, who had a nice season.
It's hard not to with Peyton Manning, yeah.
James Jones, Dexter McCluster, Jerome Simpson, Julian Edelman, Meacham, Nix, Macklin. The list goes on and on. Bolden, Manningham, Tate. Are any of these wide receivers to you going to be targets to, I'm going to leave my team and go somewhere else?
I think there's a couple. Decker, obviously, I think is the big one right off the top, and that's because of cost versus, worth on the team. I think.
Yeah, but is he
Denver's so loaded that they can do without him.
The question I have, though, about Decker, is he really that good, or did Peyton Manning make him look good?
I think he can make him look good, but that Decker's still a productive wide receiver with good size.
I'm not saying he's not productive. I'm just saying
he's that
the season that he had last year, was it him or Peyton Manning?
He obviously can't tell RG3 to throw the ball to him 48 times.
No, I know. I'm just saying
if he throws him the ball, he will catch it. It's not like rocket science out there. He's a good wide receiver. If he was a bad wide receiver, Peyton Manning wouldn't have thrown him the ball. He wouldn't have X completions for 800 yards and 10 touchdowns probably.
I'm actually thinking that Golden Tate's going to be the most overpaid
Really?
wide receiver in this draft.
Really?
Not necessarily over.
He's even come out and said that he's going to take a hometown.
I'm
He
not
wants
saying
to
he's
take
going
a
to get paid
hometown
the
discount.
most money. I'm saying he's going to be the most overpaid.
Because he ain't worth shit.
Yeah, but you're going to say that about a guy who's come out and said, I want to take a hometown discount to stay with the Seahawks?
I don't necessarily believe that the Seahawks are going to keep him.
Wwhy? Why wouldn't they?
Because their wide receiver talent level is not very good for a Super Bowl winning team.
But they don't.
They just went out and cursed.
They just
Curse
went
looked
out
like an
and
MVP
just
wide receiver.
Mauled
during the
all
Super
over
Bowl.
Denver. So I mean,
I'd say that's
but
mostly
them
due to
going
curse.
all over Denver, a lot of that, yeah, sure, but a lot of that is the defense destroying their morale until they just want it to end.
Yeah, but at the same time, this wide receiver tandem for the Super Bowl had a mission to make their name known. I didn't even know who Curse was until he scored a touchdown.
And you probably will forget who he is next season.
Maybe.
Because that's how their game works.
But I mean,
doesn't matter who's out there as a wide receiver.
You don't need big names to win a Super Bowl. They proved that.
Exactly. So you don't need Golden Tate.
Well,
Golden Tate is going to stay.
They proved that because they had an incredible defense.
Golden Tate to me is going to stay because why fix what isn't broken?
Yeah, I still think you want him to improve. You don't just sit there and say
complacency
we're
is
satisfied.
the enemy.
Yeah.
There's more needs for the Seahawks though than getting a better wide receiver than Golden
up
Tate.
There because Marshawn Lynch isn't living forever, and then Russell Wilson needs somebody to throw the ball to. You're going to have to pay
Obviously,
all these guys
people
soon
to throw
enough.
to on Sunday.
He did, but part of that was because he had a great defense that was able to hold Peyton Manning to 8 points. When you can hold Peyton Manning to 8 points, you don't need good wide receivers.
But I think any addition of a better wide receiver, very welcome. Russell Wilson loves it. That offense gets more options. And honestly, I think it's just necessary at this point because as far as upgrade-wise, their defense is stacked, so they're probably going to go out there and go ahead look at the offense. Like you said, Marshawn Lynch, he's been beast moding for a while now. I think he's 27, possibly. He's still got some years left in him, so that's not a huge concern up front. So you want to get some improvements to that O-line maybe, and then wide receivers. That's it.
But tell me this. You have Golden Tate, who has said he wants to take a hometown discount. Who are you going to get that would be an upgrade from Tate, but at the same time gives you that cap flexibility that'll take that home advantage discount? Who won't be more money?
You've got one more year before you have to pay Russell Wilson. That's the key thing is Wilson isn't asking for his money right now. Richard Sherman, you don't have to give him top-tier money yet. So you can go out and spend money right now and make your run right now. Now's the perfect time. You just won your first championship. You can go ahead and do it again, and then you worry about paying off the big names. So I'd say you go out there and spend the money on somebody like Macklin. Absolutely worth your money.
See, I don't know, because to me, you got to think about paying your guys, especially like Richard Sherman, especially like Russell Wilson. You have to pay them, and I don't want to see a situation for like the Seahawks where it's like, okay, we need to make room for this for Russell Wilson or Sherman. Well, looks like we got to trade Beast Mode or someone up there like Beast Mode that can fill and release cap space.
If you're trading Marshawn Lynch at the age
after
of 28,
another year, yeah,
that's pretty good, especially if he has a good season next year too.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd be okay with that.
That's a great deal.
But I honestly think Sherman may not get re-signed with the Seahawks. Big name cornerbacks just go. They get 1 year it's there, 1 year it's not, and we've seen it for like the past decade. They come like flies. Honestly, 1 year, each year there's somebody else. Not saying they're not as great. Just they lose effectiveness because the ball just isn't thrown their way anymore. It's impact on a team, and yeah, that's a big impact. Being like, okay, so no throws to the right side of the field today, but you can go out there and get somebody who does a job equal, and it's like, oh, well, maybe he's not worth top tier money anymore, yeah.
Well, and I mean, next year is the year we're going to find out about Richard Sherman because he's a free agent in 15. Russell Wilson, we're going to have to wait until 16, so it's not like they're in the same free agency period. Great. But I mean, I kind of feel like you have to have those guys kind of highlighted, be thinking ahead about them because you say cornerbacks walk, the Seahawks can't let Sherman walk.
Really? I think they can.
Really? You think the LOB would be the LOB without their kind of voice?
Well, he doesn't really make any hits, so yeah, I would still say they're the Legion of Boom.
Yeah, but he shuts down receivers.
I think it's a team effort.
You think it's all a team effort? So that last play, yeah, someone else made the interception, but it was a team effort when he went up there and tipped the ball?
I think the entire defense is just a team effort. I'm not saying every corner in the league could have done that. I'm saying that several corners of the league can do that and have done that, though. I don't think he's that far and above. We need him on our team or else we won't win a championship. He's not.
I didn't say
Russell Wilson is, though.
No. I didn't say that
they
if they didn't have him, they wouldn't win a championship. What I'm saying is you need him because he's kind of a special guy when you go into a Super Bowl game and it seems like Peyton Manning is afraid to throw his direction because this guy's he's afraid that they shut him down.
Look at the stats. He wasn't. Peyton threw at him several times.
Yeah, and look at how many points did they score. I know.
Oh, my God.
He wasn't the only
Peyton
defensive
set a record
person.
for most pass attempts in a game. It's
Did
not
he
like
win?
He's afraid to throw the ball.
Yeah, but did he win? That's the
No.
question.
He had a terrible game because of the defense as a whole, because he was uncomfortable with his pocket presence, because he had so much pressure on him as quarterback. I mean, that defensive line was just on top of him the entire game. It's a defensive effort as a whole. I think you're focusing too much on him.
It's not like Seattle goes and loads 7 or 8 in the box all the time. They let those defensive linemen go and rush him as well. So, I mean, your most effective part of the Seattle Seahawks defense is that defensive line because they can get to the quarterback on their own. When you can drop everybody back into coverage.
As I say, when you have like 7 in coverage, 6 in...
It's pretty effective.
Yeah, you're fine.
You can have... I mean, Richard Sherman, top talent. Obviously, without a doubt. Right now, he's top talent. But you can do without the absolute top guy if you're able to drop everybody back.
And let's go back in time. Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, Nnamdi Asomugha, Darrelle Revis. I mean, it just keeps going back and back. And each time it's like, oh, yeah, it's super great. And then they start to fall off in their career. Oh, yeah, super great. And then they start to fall. It's just the same thing. And these guys pop up every single year. Patrick Peterson, Tyrann Mathieu. I mean, every single year there's going to be a corner who's just going to stand out and make you go, wow. This year's Richard Sherman's. He'll still be a great talent next year. He'll still be a great talent the year after. But is he worth the same? Is he worth that top tier money when you're trying to build a team for continued success? Probably not.
Yeah, but I mean, we're talking about building a team for continued success. I don't think the Seahawks are at that point where they need to be like, oh, we're building a team. They have a team. Now it's about maintaining and staying at that level.
Again, complacency. I'm telling you, you always have to go for better. They need to keep striving to improve their weakness, which right now is that unknown wide receiver core and that offensive line.
Well, the offensive line, I am not disagreeing. That would be, in my opinion, that's number one because Russell Wilson then doesn't have to run around in the backfield looking for a wide receiver. I just feel like the defense is great how it is. Why worry about, we'll let Sherman go get this new up-and-coming corner you're talking about when things are working there and you could work to get needs in other places like the offense. That's what I'm saying.
It's hard to get those needs, though, when you're spending, huge chunks of money on very specific players. One of the reasons that the Seattle Seahawks are so good is because this team is made of fifth-rounders. It's made of undrafted players. It's made of these guys with the chips on their shoulders who are going out there playing way above their pay grade.
Which lets them go out in free agency and get big people who make big impacts, like Percy Harvin. Like a lot of these, look at their team. Mark, you're right. It's a lot of these late round guys mixed in with great free agent pickups. Pete Carroll knows how to build up this team. He's done an excellent job basically stripping that roster since he got there and building up with guys who fit in his persona, his idea of a team.
Well, let me put it this way, and this is one of the last things that we'll talk about free agent NFL-wise before we get to the only college story of the week with Jameis Winston saying he's going to stay with Florida State. Let me compare it to you guys from a Bear standpoint. And I'm going to say right now, situations are totally different due to the age of the player. I'm saying that now, so don't call me stupid. It's like Charles Tillman. He is your number one corner. Am I wrong?
No, you're right.
How are you going to feel if he walks away this year? I know he'd be older than Richard Sherman would be when he would maybe walk away from the Seahawks. But how are you feeling letting that corner, that number one corner, walk away? Or are you going to try to keep him on your team?
I honestly, and it's because it is a different situation. I have no problem with him walking because he's injury prone.
Exactly. At this point in his career, it's not worth the price tag that he possibly is looking for. Although I don't think he's looking for like top dollar. I think he's looking for a comfortable fit. But as a Bears fan, I understand. Dude's super talented, very smart when it comes to trying to strip the ball away. Again, he was one of those, he had a breakout year that 1 year. And then there it is. It's just like, corners have those years. That's just how it goes.
And in the prime of his career, honestly, the problem was, once again, different situations. The Bears were not a good team in the prime of Peanut's career. So could we have not paid him big money if he was going to demand big money and got, I don't know, any wide receiver, had a good quarterback on the team, had an offensive line capable of protecting said quarterback? I mean, it's,
I was going to say, it's a shame he had his prime, like, right after our Super Bowl run. He started to pick up his steam, so...
Exactly. So it's an interesting situation, and yeah, you don't want to lose one of the top players. If you could have as many top players in each position as possible. Or do you go for just good? Is it acceptable to you to have just a good offensive line and have one of the best wide receivers out there? Not the best, like you're going to have the best cornerback out there, but if you can get one of the better wide receivers, you might want to make that trade.
Exactly. And what I see with our situation right now in the Bears is like, okay, we got Jennings. He's a good cornerback. He's not the greatest. He's not even top 5, but he's a good corner. So that's something to work with. It's not like we're losing everything. It's just, with our situation, we need to allocate our money away from Tillman and put it towards other people on this defense. Same problem we had with Urlacher the year before. The price just not feasible at the time, and we have to use the funds elsewhere.
Well, let me ask you this. According to NFLTradeRumors.com, the Bears' defensive backs in total, corners and safeties, right now in free agency, you guys will have Bowman, Hayden, McManus, Tillman. Those are the corners. And your safeties will be Steltz and Wright. Out of those players, are there any must re-signs, must guys that you say, we need them back on our team?
Did you see the Bears defense at all last season?
Yeah, you cut Chris Conte.
No,
we got
you
that.
You can afford to let everybody leave. That's fine. I mean,
as long as Julius Peppers is on our team,
then, you can make the argument that Peppers we don't need.
He's kind of old.
Let me throw out a question that just came to my head. One of the guys cut this week from the Falcons, Asante Samuels. Do you take a stab at Samuel?
I mean, he hasn't really been that great lately either.
Again,
but do you take a roll of the dice?
I want young guys.
So only young guys.
Not necessarily only young guys.
You have to pepper in the.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't want to go for a guy who's a big name veteran right now because I don't trust any of the big name free agent veterans.
Well, I mean, right now the
big prize.
The cornerbacks that I could see getting a lot of attention from free agency. You got Samuel. You got Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie if he hits.
He's going to get re-signed.
Then you have Talib. If he re-signs with the Patriots, he might not. Or Walter Thurman III. We're talking about Seattle. He could be on a different team next year. You also have D'Angelo Hall from Washington.
Yeah, I mean, D'Angelo Hall, dinosaur, man.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, out of those guys, Thurman's obviously the best option you have, especially because it's a situation out of Seattle where are they really going to keep all this big stockpile they have, or are they going to let some guys walk?
Well, remember when preseason ended, they had to cut down their final 53? I think 3 of their defensive players who were cut were picked up immediately by other teams. I mean, they just really were that talented on that defense that even the cut players got picked up. So I'd say maybe a couple of those corners would be interesting fits, but again, it comes down to cost value. It sounds so cold to say that, but business perspective wise, it just going after a big name corner, we don't have the money. We need to get so many things on this defense. There's too many openings, and throwing down all our money for a big name corner is just not worth it right now.
Well, let me throw another question your way, Bears style. You said, Mark, that you would like to have a rookie over a veteran to fill in those needs at corner.
So let's see who's coming out of LSU this year?
Well, not LSU. I'm looking at the mock drafts, and both of them have Justin Gilbert, the top corner, going well before.
He is legitimate.
Well before the Bears pick at 15. But one guy they could take at 15 instead of a defensive lineman is DeQuezi Denard, the cornerback out of Michigan State. He's 5'11", 189 pounds, and on ESPN, overall rank of 18, position rank of 2, and a grade of 91.
Sure, I mean, that's definitely one way you could go. For the Bears, first-round pick, obviously we have a lot of options, to be honest. Mm-hmm. You can go linebacker, you can go corner, you can go safety, you can go defensive line. Honestly, I like Clinton Dix. If we can get him, I'm happy, and that's a safety position, a position the Bears haven't had anything going on for years.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to go for that direction, but, I mean, honestly, I'm pretty comfortable with where the Chicago Bears are at, as long as we don't pull one of those classic Phil Emery, smartest guy in the room type scenarios.
Man. If we're going to draft somebody who's got like a 5th-round grade in the first round, I swear to God.
Well, and one of the things that I like about Denard is if you look at his profile, his draft profile on ESPN, they have him listed as a 5. That's the best rating you can get for durability. And we know the Bears. We know the injury problems that the Bears, that mostly at quarterback, but there's been injury problems everywhere. It'd be nice to have a cornerback that you can line up with Jennings, who's not going to get injured.
We hope he's not injured, but I don't know. I honestly, as long as we go somewhere defensive in the first couple rounds consecutively,
maybe,
I'll be pretty happy.
The first 6.
All of them.
Yeah.
Be like one of those old Bears drafts where we're just like, yeah, screw the offense, we don't care. But we actually have one, so it's okay.
I'm going to give you 4 choices at 14 to who to pick. You tell me who you would take. Timmy Jernigan, defensive tackle, Florida State. Louis Nix III, defensive tackle, Notre Dame. Clinton Dix, safety, Alabama. Or you have Denard, the cornerback, out of Michigan State.
I don't know. It depends a lot on if we re-sign Henry Melton. Honestly, that's the biggest thing is that'll answer it if we need to go defensive tackle right off the bat. If we do, I'm all for secondary and I'm all for Clinton Dix. I think that a good safety is worth their money because they play such a wide array on the field. Like, they're up on the line, they're back in the secondary, they cover the entire field. I think it's probably one of the keys that we need to get, and something the Bears haven't had, like a top-tier safety in a long time. So I'd be interested to see what they can do with this defense.
The interesting thing about a guy like Nix, it'd be interesting to have somebody who can be a nose tackle. He's a huge guy. He's 340 pounds. It's pretty huge. If the Bears do, move to a hybrid defense or a 3-4 defense, even if they want to go all the way, it'd be interesting to have a guy who can actually do that. Because really right now we don't have somebody. I mean, maybe Henry Melton could, but once again, that's paying him the money.
And that's paying him the money for a position he doesn't want to play necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you're kind of counting on a lot. So it'd be very interesting to see what a guy like Nix could do if we do have that hybrid defense style moving forward.
I'm going to throw my 2 cents in there, and I feel like, let's say Bears don't re-sign Melton. I'd lean towards Louis Nix III. And I know Florida State fans are going to give me crap for this, but I'm taking Nix over Jernigan because of Jernigan in the national championship game. You had how many months to prepare for this game, and when you're in the 4th quarter and Auburn's driving on you, you're on the sidelines with your hands on your knees catching your breath?
Well, you ask how many months. The answer is
you have how many months to prepare for this game?
The answer, Ricky, is too many.
Too many.
He had too many months, and he wasn't ready. He had too many months of just sitting around playing Xbox.
Undisciplined is what you're saying here.
And I mean, that kind of has a negative effect on me, and that's why I'd go Louis Nix III. If you guys re-sign Melton, there's no doubt I'm going to take Denard because I'll take Denard over Clinton Dix because he's a corner, and I feel like Tillman's going to walk.
He might, but at the same time, Bears have not had a safety. Maybe ever.
True.
And by ever, I mean for
I'm assuming,
recent memory.
I'm assuming that Clinton Dix can cover and tackle better than Chris Conte.
I'm assuming a blind kitten can cover and tackle better than Chris Conte.
Yeah, exactly.
But, guys, last thing to talk about on the podcast to shift over to college football is the Heisman winner, the most talked about player in college football compared to Johnny Manziel, you could say, is famous Jameis Winston, making news this week by saying, hey, you know what? My coach is right when he said I'm eyeing to stay 2 more years in college. That means we wouldn't see him until the 2016 NFL draft.
It's interesting in the sense of a lot of times you have a guy, we'll take Mallett, for example. Ryan Mallett, he was going to be one of the top quarterbacks taken. Waits a year. What happens? Where is he?
Jake Locker, same thing. He was going to be a number 1, decided to stay a year. Now he's having fun in Tennessee.
And we even have it with Barkley. Barkley's sitting back there behind all-star quarterback Nick Foles.
Especially Barkley.
So, I mean, it's interesting. Obviously, famous Jameis wasn't coming out this year. That wasn't going to be possible. So maybe
but he could come out next year.
Maybe he doesn't have the year that he would hope to have next year. So maybe it'll help. But if it doesn't help, if he has an incredible year next year, you already won a national championship. You already won a Heisman. Why do you go back? There's nothing for you there. Move on if you can, be one of those top guys taken.
There's only 2 things I can think of why he'd want to stay. One has to do with football, one has to do with baseball. I'll talk about the baseball one first. Maybe in his mind he's thinking, well, if I stay another year, I can play baseball for 2 more years at Florida State and really weigh out my options. Which do I want to play, baseball or football?
But he's not even a good baseball player. That's the thing. But he's below average.
But on the football side, maybe he's looking at, okay, look at all the seniors my team lost. This year might not be the same year for Florida State as we saw in 2013 because of who they lost, because
plus
of the
talent
playoff
level
system.
Of the ACC is going to get a little bit better.
Yep, and plus the ACC is looking to – they're seeking more games against the SEC, which to me, don't
huge
do
mistake.
that.
Yeah, that's
don't
bad.
do that. So maybe that 3rd year you're staying, you're going up against SEC teams. They rock you. You're no longer the number 1 pick.
Yeah, they could end up facing 3 SEC teams a year at that point. Could you imagine like Bama, Georgia, and LSU? Yeah, no.
It's just, here's the thing. You don't need to make a decision right now, so why are you even talking about the future?
Because Jameis Winston likes when people talk about him.
I mean, that's a good way to do it, but if you don't need to make any decisions right now, don't talk. And, of course, this is something an agent would tell him if he was able to have an agent. Since he can't, because he's a college player, doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, that is probably one of the biggest things. I think it's just a random statement he's tossing out there because his coach came out and said something publicly, so then he had to say something. Otherwise, it's kind of like leaving your coach out hanging. So I think it's just something he's doing to be nice. I don't think he's going to stay the 2 years. I think he's going to go 1 year. I think he's going to go out and be the number 1 pick probably. It all lines up for him, and really another year just puts him in danger to have an injury, and that just what happens the rest of your career at that point.
And right now I'm looking at the comments that they're quoting him for saying in the article on ESPN, and at the very end, I kind of have a little bit of a hard time believing half of these comments. He says, and I quote, obviously, I'm not even worried about the draft and stuff like that. I'm worried about winning championships here at Florida State, end quote. The second half I can believe. He is a guy that wants to win championships and Heismans. The first part, a little bit hard to believe. You're one of the most. Your name is famous Jameis, and you're not thinking about how you're going to go in the NFL draft, where you're going to go in the NFL draft.
I'm sorry, he doesn't fit the stereotype for normal older quarterbacks in college football who are usually staying because they don't have the option to be like a top pick in the NFL. They go because, Tim Tebow stayed. Why? Because he wanted to win more championships, because he knew he was a great college quarterback, and that was probably where he was going to make his mark. And it just seems like Winston has top-tier talent. He fits everything, and it's like, why would you even consider staying next year just for another year of college? Really? Well, you could be pro.
Well, let's even compare him to a quarterback that is not going to stay for that 3rd year, and that's Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel redshirted, then has 2 phenomenal seasons and says, bye-bye, I'm out of here. And everyone, me included, are expecting you win a national championship in your first year. Well, technically second because he was redshirted. Why would we expect you to stay any longer? You won a Heisman and a national championship, just like you said, Mark.
There's literally nothing else he can do. I mean, unless he goes out there.
Except for winning multiple trying to be better than Tim Tebow.
Yeah, if he goes 2 years with 2 national championships and 2 Heismans, then there's just something bizarre. I mean, that'd be truly, truly amazing.
But I feel like it'd be, I'm going to say it right now, stupid if he stayed a third year.
There's just no point. I mean, it's the kind of thing, though, to where maybe he just absolutely bombs this year and then, okay, yes, stay the third year. But it's not a decision you need to make right now, so why put it out there?
Yep.
And
yeah,
plus,
absolutely right.
And plus, I mean, this is the last thing I'll say about it. It still is going to evolve as the season goes on. But if this upcoming quarterback class after this offseason is very quarterback weak, why not just come out and be the first pick?
Maybe he's like timing it out so he won't get drafted to a certain team. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't want to be on the Panthers.
Maybe.
Yeah, that was that
Panthers.
situation not too long ago where you got a quarterback who doesn't want to go to the Panthers, then they get Cam Newton, who's having fun out there.
Yep, and Cam Newton under Rivera doing some good things. Claw up, Mark.
That's right. They're clawing up all the time.
But that is going to do it for the Onside Kick. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/the Onside Kick. Hit us up on Twitter at Onside Kick Real. Subscribe to us on YouTube, like our videos, and as always, have a good day, everybody.